policies. In an opinion article published in the New York Times, Goldstone wrote, "While apartheid can have broader meaning, its use is meant to evoke the situation in pre-1994 South Africa. It's an unfair and inaccurate slander against Israel calculated to retard rather than advance peace negotiations." IBA's Ellie Wagalanter spoke with Gerald Steinberg, head of NGO Monitor, about Goldstone's op-ed piece and about the tribunal taking place in South Africa.
A complete farce, they used the term tribunal and claim to have a judicial process. It is completely the opposite of that. It's a kangaroo court. One of the members of this so-called jury referred to it as an inquisition, which is certainly correct. It is designed to promote anti-Semitism, to isolate Israel, to delegitimize Israel. It's an extension of Durham by using the apartheid claim. It's not about occupied territories or settlements. Judge Goldstone, as a former judge in South Africa, as someone who grew up, was raised, and became a judge in South Africa, who participated in the transition from apartheid to a democratic system of equal apartheid, more than anyone else, these people who went through apartheid, certainly blacks who went through apartheid, many of his allies, know that calling Israel apartheid is absolutely, as he said, a slander, a libel, a completely false statement. It's part of political warfare. He wanted to make sure that he was on record before this event took place. He's had relations, close relations, cooperative relations with Archbishop Desmond Tutu and others who are involved in this farce. He's sending them a message. Don't do this. Are not involved, saying don't take this seriously. I, Judge Goldstone, who have been very critical of Israel, am absolutely unalterably opposed to this type of slanderous, despicable activity.
And how much will Goldstone have on this tribunal taking place this weekend in South Africa?
I think it's huge because of his reputation, because he was a judge on the Constitutional Court of South Africa during the transition, because he has been involved in a number of United Nations human rights activities, because he went on record as being very much opposed to Israeli actions and has since said he's reconsidered, he's retracted a lot of those false claims, because he knows that he was exploited by this anti-Israel coalition. He has taken a very, very strong stand and said, that's it. This has got to stop. This is unacceptable. And because it's Judge Goldstone, it certainly is resonating. The first organization, the first group of people that I saw that condemned him was Electronic Intifada, someone who has been leading the apartheid campaign, who is really Mr. Israel Apartheid, Ali Abu Nima. He knows that this was a huge blow to his credibility, to Abu Nima's credibility, to Electronic Intifada, to the Palestinian campaign, and therefore clearly it has an effect.
And there are those who say that really what Goldstone is doing is just seeking some kind of repentance towards Israel, towards the Jews, for what he's done in the past.
When Judge Goldstone wrote his first op-ed in the Washington Post at the beginning of April, in which he said he was reconsidering his role in what was called the Goldstone Report on Gaza, which labeled Israelis as war criminals, which made all sorts of biased accusations, many people have said, well, he's just bowing to pressure from the Zionists, from the Jews, and he wants to re-ingratiate himself with the Jewish community. This article in the New York Times had nothing to do with that. If that was his goal, he did it already back in April. This is something that clearly came from the heart and also from the mind. Goldstone said this is unacceptable, and he picked the time to do this where it would have the greatest effect. So, yes, there are going to be many critics from all different sides who are going to find excuses for this, but I suggest people just read the article. It speaks for itself, and if you know the man and you know what he's saying, it is extremely powerful.
And what will be the wide-ranging effect of Goldstone's op-ed this week?
I think it is a fatal blow to the BDS movement, to the Israel Apartheid Week activities. Now, every time on any campus in the world or in any other union framework that Israel is linked with apartheid, we can pull out the Goldstone op-ed in the New York Times and said, you people don't know what you're talking about. Here's somebody who knows about apartheid. And it's not just Goldstone. There are a number of victims of apartheid, blacks in South Africa, who said, don't use apartheid. You can criticize Israel, but apartheid, this is not apartheid, as Goldstone said. Israeli Arabs sit in the parliament. They do not in any way get discriminated against in any way that can be compared to apartheid. This is a conflict situation. Don't exploit the terrible legacy of apartheid for your political campaigns.